Chapter 2. Crusoe's Home. How would you like to live on a lonely island where there are no human beings to give you company and where you desire to build a small house for yourself? Here is a story of a young Englishman who is shipwrecked in a storm and finds himself on such an island. Read on to know how he survives. I knew that I must live near fresh water. I must build a house that would safeguard me against the rain and the heat of the sun. It must be strong enough to protect me against wild animals. It should be on high ground so that I could watch for help. I walked about my island until I found a place that was just right. It was on the northern side of a hill, a little flat place covered with grass. Since it was in the north, the hot sun would never shine on it too much. Behind it was a wall of rock. If I built my house against the rock, nothing could come at me from behind the house. In front of this rock, the ground was flat for a space and then sloped down to the sea. At one place in the rock wall, there was an opening into a cave. I decided to build my house right in front of this cave. I drew a half circle on the ground before the rock wall, about 10 yards from the rock and 20 yards across. Then I felled many small trees. I cut off their branches and made them sharp at one end. I drove them into the ground on the line I had made. I put them very close together. When they were driven deep in the ground, they were higher than my head. I put a second row of trees inside the first, about 6 inches from it. Between them, I put big ropes that I had taken from the ship. When it was over, I had a fence that neither men nor animals could pass through. Next, I began to carry up all the things I had taken from the ship. The first things I got were the sails, which I used to make my tent. At that time of the year, it rained very heavily and frequently. I made a small tent and then a larger one over it and made it rain-proof. In this tent, I put my bed and everything which the rain would have damaged. The other things I put within the boundary of the tent. Up until now, I had left an opening in the fence so that I could carry things in. I closed this opening. Now I was safe. I made a small ladder. I would go up the ladder to the top of my fence and stand on the ropes between the 2 rows of trees. Then I would pull the ladder up and put it down on the inside. When I had climbed down on the inside, I would take the ladder down after me. My next work was to enlarge the small cave behind the tent. Luckily, the rock was soft. Soon I had a kind of cellar for my house. Once each day, I went out with my gun to hunt for fresh meat of animals. I also wanted to see what plants grew on my island. I often felt very sad. Then I would look at my dog and my 2 cats. It is true, they could not talk to me, but they were my friends and showed me in different ways that they loved me. They were a big help to me. While I was making my fence, I was doing many other things too. Each day I went to the highest spot on the island and looked all around. I hoped that I would see a ship or 2. In my hurry to get things from the ship, I had picked up many small things also. I found that I had a pen and some ink and some paper. I also found a Bible. There were 3 or 4 other books too. I put them all in a safe, dry place. If you have no one to talk to but a dog and 2 cats, it is good to have these books to read. There were also many things which I did not have that I desperately needed. I had scissors, but I had no needles, pins or thread to sew fabrics with. I had an axe and some hammers and nails, but I had no spade to dig the ground. This had made it very hard to make the fence. I could not dig holes to put my posts into, so I had to drive them deep into the ground. This was a daunting task. I needed a better house inside my fence. It rained very often, and my tent developed holes in it. I cut trees and put them against the rock and covered them with small branches. This was not a very big house. It would not hold all the items I had to keep dry, so I made myself a deeper cave. I had no spade, but I found that the wood of a particular kind of tree was harder than the wood of other trees. I cut some of this wood and made myself a spade. The rock wasn't as hard as I had thought it might be. I used some of the iron I had taken off the ship to dig it loose. Then I found I wanted a basket to carry the rock and dirt away from the cave. I had nothing like that, so I made myself a kind of box which I carried on my shoulder. With my iron bar, my spade, and my box, I was able to make quite a big cave in the rock. Then I made an opening on the outside which was not very large. At night, I closed the opening with rocks. I worked hard until I had quite a big cave. It was inside, but it was cool and dry. Now I found time to make some other things. I wanted to sit at a table to eat my food. I wanted to read and write too. I made good use of the axe, hammer, and nails. I had saved some boards from the ship, and I made a chair and a table. They were not very attractive, but I could sit at my table the way I had done at home. I used the rest of the boards to make shelves for my books and other items. It made me very happy when I had all my things laid out on my shelves. I could see my guns, my nails, my books, and all the things I had saved from the ship. I felt that I had a nice, safe, dry place. This was my home now.